All right, I'm working on trying to fine tune the timing on this Panhead. When I last did this, I tried going directly to the book. Now, a little history. See, I got this bike in 2005. I picked it up a year after my father died. And it was in pieces. And it took me a good 10 years to really get into it, start learning it, put it together. And of course, when I got to the timing, you know, knowing nothing, there were some people that came by and helped me out. A lot of books, a lot of videos, a lot of people give me advice. I can never just get it to be dialed in properly though. And the book and everybody else always says the same thing, that you set the line in the center of the hole, you set this to full advanced, you set the timing based that way. Okay, that's the way I've been doing it, and it's been really difficult and not working for me. I just kind of got to the idea where, you know what, it'll take 50 starts, 50 kicks to start in the morning. If I'm going to ride it, I might have to, give myself a good 20-30 minutes if I want to take this bike out just to get the thing running. But typically once it's been running, if I'm out, I jump on it, thing starts right up. Now, of course, I did a lot of work, as you saw in the other videos, so everything got out of whack, and so now I'm trying to dial it all back in and just do a sanity check. It's been a good 5 years since I had this bike to where it would start, even though it was difficult. So one of the things I did here, just trying to troubleshoot, is I did replace the battery, but that didn't actually end up being the problem. Although the battery was old, it needed to be replaced. So I just took that out just to eliminate any possible problems with the battery. My son's a mechanic. He came by yesterday and he looked at it and he regapped the points to 19, which I had it at 22, went back to 19, which is probably about what I had it at originally. The other thing we did is we looked at the points here. Now, when I had set these points, I set it to 22. He and I went out and checked it yesterday, and they were like below 15. I don't know what happened. These wandered. So this must have come loose. So what I've been trying to, so what we did basically was we fiddled with this until we got it, 020, I think, here, 19 on the spark plugs. We jumped on it and it started acting differently, so it did actually start kicking back when I was rolling over slower. Okay, a little too advanced, so just got to tweak it a little bit more. And but I did finally get it to run, and then it started up quite easily, even cold and hot, within a couple of clicks, a couple of kicks. I mean, I had to change some things in the startup because this is a Bendix, got an accelerator pump. These bikes flood, like by looking at them, they'll flood. So that was one of the things I was fighting with, is how do I do this? Do I just get on it, start kicking? Do I prime it first? Do I pump it? Do I choke it? Basically throwing out everything I've been doing up to this point and trying to start over. And part of that was seeing a video, and I don't remember the guy's name, but I will put it up here. And he showed a way that basically you put the thing to top dead center. These should spin freely, which they do. And now you're perfectly on top dead center. Now, the book is going to tell you at this point you need to rotate the engine around, because top dead center is going to be a little past the advance mark. We want to be on the advance mark. The book says have the advance mark not in the center of the hole, but kind of off to the side, right? So your automatic timer is going to be here, off of it like this for an automatic. For a manual. However, I said, okay, let me go and just look at it scientifically. So I went in, I put the bike on top dead center. I verified that the mark on the flywheel is actually top dead center. I did that by putting a piece of plastic, just a little piece of tie wrap, and bumping the engine back and forth until I could find exactly where top dead center was, and bumping it back and then forward, because you want to make sure you get the gear lash out. So right now this bike is dead on top dead center on the front. We have total movement here, no up down movement, so we're good there. These are actually solid lifters, so we don't have to worry about leaking down. And at this point, so what I wanted to see is, we got it running yesterday. I wanted to say, okay, let's go look at where everything is, because I want to see where we're at as far as physically on the bike. You know, when everything's working perfectly, if I'm like right at the spot to where it's going to fire, you know, where is that mark, right? So I went to the AI, I went to Copilot. Copilot, you know, it's something I use where I work all the time. I work on computers, I don't work on bikes. So I do a lot of work with AI, making agents to try to, you know, analyze huge amounts of data, because in the IT business, you know, people say, oh, I have a problem with my computer. You pull a log file, there's 5-6 million lines of code you have to go through. And, you know, now with AI can really quickly go through that and say, oh, here's the problem. So I went there, I described everything I just said to you. I even told it what parts I have. Andrew's AB cam, manual timer, rebuild heads, SNS or Bendix carburetor, even the exact plugs that I'm using, the wires that I use, the coil, everything. And I went through and I showed it pictures of where I set everything. And it came back and it was like, hey, you know, you're pretty spot on, but you should try it this way. It said, put the bike at top dead center, put it on full retard. Now I know you're not supposed to go full retard, but according to the book, you're supposed to go full advance. I've never actually seen this method. So what I want to do is just go over my exact timing the way it is now and just see where we're at. So in theory, so what this is telling me is, if I am connected here on the timer, here's my light. Okay, we're at full retard. This light is on. There, now it's off. It's saying that if I just barely touch this, boom, that light actually should go off. So it should be on right now at full back. It's so tight. I mean, it's so close. Like if I just barely touch, see that? I mean, now the light came on. I barely touched it. So, you know, what that's telling me is like, boom, that's where I'm supposed to be. Although, it's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be able to, if I move this, that's supposed to actually make the light go off. So right now this needs to be, these are apart. So what does it say here? Confirm the points gap is 020, which I still need to do. And I think that the points gap wandered again. And so I need to check that first. And it says, you know, bring the cylinder to true top dead center on compression. Timer fully retarded. Rotate the timer body slowly until the test light just comes on. So the other confusing thing about this is right now the test light is off. Okay. It's saying rotate it until it comes on. So, but it also says that the test light has to go between the ground or the battery and the points. Typically what I would do is I would actually I'd measure between the points and ground, right? So if we do that, okay, the light comes on. Now here it says, okay, fully retarded, rotate the body slowly until the test light just comes on. But here, I'm just moving this whole thing. You notice this test light doesn't change throughout the whole movement here. If I just touch this, okay, what that means is I need to move this whole body this way, just a hair. By undoing this, move this just a hair till this light goes off. The moment that light goes off, I lock it down. That should be the right position. Assuming, of course, that I have the 020 on the gap. So I'm going to double check that first, because I actually did try checking it this morning and it seemed like it was off again. And I don't know if there's a problem with the timer. If this timer is not fully if it's still moving somehow, you know, that's a problem. And the other issue I found too, which I don't know if you're not going to be able to see this, but this was kind of twisted in a way. So when you put it in, it would look fine, but once you started moving it, it would actually walk up, right? So you ended up with only half of the points actually touching. So I had to take this apart, put it back together, and kind of make it so that the spring here is the tension is pulling down. So now it actually meets fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just check these points just to make sure that they're correct. This should be 020, which is what, you know, the book says 022, but everybody I speak to says it should be 020. And to do that, I need to get on the top of that lobe. And right now I'm off to the side a little bit. So I'm going to do that first. I'm not going to show you on camera here, but I'll come back as soon as I'm done getting that done and show you, you know, where exactly this is supposed to work on a full retard timing. Okay, so I went ahead and readjusted these to 020 now. Exactly. Now here's the problem. If you can see here, you have an adjuster screw here, right? This has a cam on it, so as you turn that, and you have to loosen this screw here. This basically locks down this bottom plate. This turning makes this plate move out and in, right? So what I noticed is, no matter where the screw is, there's a little bit of play. So no matter where you set it, you can still move this back and forth. So what I had to do is hold here. In other words, put my finger here. What that does is it puts it up against the right side of that screw, or left side, I guess, if you're sitting on the bike. And so that gives it a hard stop. So now I hold this here and I tighten everything down, and then I measure it, and we are at exactly 020 when it's on top dead center. All right, I'm on top dead center now, but I'm not setting it up for measuring. Let me just see how close that is. Whoops, yeah, I don't want to do that. Anywho, so now what it says is, okay, confirm the gaps is 020, bring the cylinder top dead center, timer fully retarded. Okay, rotate the timer body slowly until the test light just comes on. Now, this is before we're rotating this body slowly to where the light just goes on. Right now it's off. And the idea is that if we just barely move this, now the light should come on. Yeah, there it is. So now we're like right spot on where it should be, right? Full retard. Boom, right there. That means the point's just opened. Once you're closed, right? So we have, yeah, the points will be opening at that spot. Boom. Right? So that's what it says. How it should behave afterward. Cold start. Lever fully retarded. 2 to 3 primes. Should fire without kickback. Hot restart. Retarded or just barely cracked forward. No kickback. Once running, full advance, no ping under load. If it does these 3 things, it's timed correctly, regardless of where the advance mark ends up visually. That's what I want to see, is where is the advance mark now, because according to the retard method, I'm going to call it, according to the retard method, this should be perfect. I should get on that bike and this thing should start right up now. So what I want to know is, when I'm fully advanced, where exactly am I going to get that light to go on? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this around twice, because I want to get full rotation around, back. We're going to come up on the front. Alright, are we there yet? Yep, so we should be on the compression stroke, fully advanced. Now I want to see where that actually, boom, right there. Okay. So now the light's on, fully advanced timer. Boom. Let's see where the actual mark is. And I didn't even see a mark. Look at that. So, yeah, well, there's the mark. So the mark is literally just off the side. And I'm just going to give it a couple of bangs here on the wheel. Boom, there, it just came into view. Okay, so that's kind of like the book, right? Right off to the right there. So, ooey. All right. Now, this should be spot on now. This should be exactly what we need to see. And this is saying that so what I described sounds like bad cam, wrong flywheel, wrong coil, wrong condenser. Yeah, but that doesn't really matter. Wiring fault. This was a points gap drift plus timing interaction compounded by manual advanced technique. You're not fighting a mystery anymore. You're at the last of judgment. Okay. Then it says, tell me the cold start, how many kicks, hard start, whether the kickback is completely gone. This will confirm definitely. And since I don't have to actually rotate the timer body now, it looks like the points came out of adjustment. Now here's something interesting here, which it was able to tell me. Let's see here. There was a number here that it gave me about if the gap is off, right? So I think it said for like every 0.02 it's off by 1 degree. I'll have to find it. I don't know. So in other words, 3/4 choke, 3/4 towards advance, 3 pumps, ignition on, started on the 3rd kick. That's what I had before. Let's see if that improved at all. And before I do that though, I'm gonna move the engine around a few times. And I'm gonna double check that timing, those points gaps, just to make sure they didn't wander in the 30 seconds that we've been sitting here. The other thing to look at is, since we did have it running for a minute, you know, these well, it's not enough time to tell, so we'll let these run a little bit longer. But they're not sooty, they're not wet, so that's actually a good sign. All right, I'm going to put this back together. I'm going to take it outside and we'll see what happens. I didn't touch the throttle. I gave it no pumps. I'm going to put this on 3/4 choke. That's fully closed. I'll go about half a click out. Come down here. I'll retard this all the way. In fact, I'm not going to go all the way. I'm going to go halfway. Now I'm going to try this. I'm going to try basically turning it on and kicking it without giving it anything, and see what happens. I'm just going to turn it on and start kicking. I didn't touch anything except the ignition timing should be fine now. I just want to make sure it's not flooded out. It's not a lot of gas. Yeah, nothing in there. There shouldn't be. Let me give it another kick here. So, leave it the way it is. I'm just going to give it 3 nice pumps. Give it some gas. Little tiny bit of throttle. exactly what it's supposed to do. So now the next step, of course, is to take it out on the road and get it to temperature, fine tune these little screws, and hopefully I don't have to touch it again. So now, there you go. Today it's a one-kick pan. Let's see what happens tomorrow or the next day. Or in a week, because it is a panhead. There are no women standing around. So that has something to do with it too. Although I don't know if my wife is watching from the window. And in case you don't know what they mean by that is, these will not start if you're wearing your helmet or if there's a hot chick standing around watching. Just go with it. It's the way it is. Anyway, very jealous machines. And if you don't ride them very often, they get really temperamental. You know, I could jump on my Road King anytime and she'll just be like, no problem, Daddy, take me where you want me to go. But this one, no, you gotta buy her presents, you gotta take her out for dinner, all this stuff, or otherwise you don't cooperate. Anywho, let's see, I'll come out and maybe go for a ride.